Stephen King was a guy. You might know him. He made Thinner.
Bigger is better.
I hate it when you do that. No, you love it.
He was such a great author. He gave us such works as The Shining, It, The Stand, Salem's Lot, Thinner.
This diet you're on.
Sadly though, he passed away in 1999 when he was hit by a van while in a walk. It's so sad that we lost him so soon when he was getting over his problems with drug abuse. And he was beginning to actually write great things again. And the worst part is that he never finished his fan favorite series, The Dark Tower. What's that? Hold on a minute. What do you mean he's not dead? But he died in 1999? Alright guys, well, I just googled it. Apparently I'm in another dimension where Stephen King didn't die. So that's gonna be a different video. Do you see what I did there? It's a little joke if you guys have seen The Dark Tower. And for people who still believe in the Mandela effect. Oh shit, not my camera. Well, that's gone. Well, I didn't want to show my face anyway. Stephen King is my favorite author of all time. He wrote some of the best stories ever told, and not only that, but he wrote them in the best ways possible. That's what made him so unique, sometimes a bit weird, but mostly great. The directors who don't understand the tone of his stories are the ones that end up screwing up his adaptations. Pet Sematary was a disaster because it didn't get the tone of the book, where the true horror came from, and adding this stupid line.
The barrier is broken.
And that's why he hates The Shining. Though not a bad movie, it kind of robbed us from the atmosphere and overall message of the source material. Misery, I think, is his most faithful adaptation. Rob Reiner got Stephen King to the core, right down to always tweeting about Trump. But Misery is pretty much the same, and it comes down to the director, Rob Reiner, James Caan, and Kathy Bates. But what I truly love about this movie is how it understands its limits to how close it can be to the book. In the book, the narrator is incredibly mean to Annie Wilkes, especially when it comes to describing her physical. And as she continues to do worse shit, the narrator just becomes cruel to her. This works more or less to help us get in the mindset of Paul Sheldon. But in the movie, it all has to come from James Caan's performance. He doesn't say how he feels about her or even call her any names, but you can tell it by the way he looks at her. Woo! Okay, that got me in a good mood. What do you got for me now? Fuck! How can you ruin something like this? How can you ruin Idris Elba as the gunslinger? Oh, I'll tell you how. Welcome to the title of the video. So do me a favor. If you haven't seen this movie, go ahead and do so. I'll wait. You done? No? Well, I'm not gonna wait an hour and 35 minutes. Anyway, now answer me this. Did that feel like the type of universe that would have a naked junkie hugging his decapitated brother's head? Did that feel like the kind of world where a disabled woman would have sex with a demon in order to open a door to another dimension? Or would there be two 13-year-olds having sex? Different context. Did that feel like the type of story where they would break the fourth wall and meet Stephen King himself? Heck no! You know what it felt like? Another generic science fiction young adult adaptation mixed with a shitty intro into a universe we don't care about the minute you show it to us. Another reason this movie fails is that it seems like this is only given half the effort. Half the actors are amazing, but the other half are just zoned out. The director is okay at worst and surprisingly appealing at best, but the writing is awfully weak. What do you expect from Jeff Peckner, whom also adapted The Last Wave, Venom, and The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and Akiva Goldsman, Winter's Tale, Transformers, Da Vinci Code, Batman and Robin. Okay, looks like we're gonna have to make a list. Number 1, story. You can't treat this story like you do the rest, and that's not just me being a fanboy, like you can't adapt his work. The first time I noticed this problem was with The Giver. When you read the book, it feels like a low-tech utopia, like an Amish paradise made out of simple-minded people. Oh, but the movie gave us a floating city and remote-controlled superjets, because now it feels like the Hunger Games. The Dark Tower is made of secrets. The gunslinger keeps a lot to himself, and the tower is so rarely talked about for the first few books. Now, I get this is a little too much. You don't want to make a movie and not explain the lore, but geez, slow the heck down. When you're not fighting, you're sitting down and spilling exposition. But for example, I love the way they explain the tower. Drawing in the dirt is a nice nod to the books. I just wish more scenes could be like this.
Inside the circle is your world and my world. Many others. No one knows how many. The Dark Tower stands at the center of all things.
No matter when the characters say lines from the book like "Thank you, Sai" or "Long days and pleasant nights," it never feels fluent because they just rush them out quick so that they can continue to talk.
Thank you, Sai.
You've come all the way from Keystone Earth to find him.
But you wanna know what's worse than exposition? Ending your story too early. Let's get back to this. Imagine if they destroyed the ring in Fellowship, or killed Dumbledore in Sorcerer's Stone. Imagine if they destroyed the Death Star in the first. Oh, that's right. Anyway, in the first Dark Tower, they killed the Men in Black, freed the Breakers, and saved the tower. Sure, you could have made it a fake out and bring Randall Flagg back, or get rid of him altogether since the true villain is the Crimson King. There could have been another group of Breakers being used to destroy the tower somewhere else. But there's nothing like they could have added to not make it seem cheap and unplanned. Number 2, characters. Let's start with Jake. What the hell happened to our fun and lovable Jake? He was chosen to be put in the way of Roland in order to distract him, make him like him, love him, and that would make him weak. Instead, he's the one. He has the touch, he shines, and is the only one capable of destroying the tower or saving it. And I forgot, he also has dreams of the tower and the gunslinger and makes drawings in his sleep. Because you've never seen that in a movie before. Yes, this happens in the book, but it's only because Roland traveled to the past and saved him from being hit by a bus, which made him appear in Midworld, and now the dreams are memories that he was supposed to live at that moment. All this adds to Roland and Jake. He's not someone he has to protect, he's someone he loves and wants to have next to him. This also ruins what is Catet. I was so eager to meet Susanna, Eddie, and Oi, but this film ruined the chance of that as well. Jake is not a fighter, he's a mission, and Roland is the protector, and they never feel like they should be more than a duo. Oh, but I forgot, he's also got an abusive stepdad who's an asshole to him and the mom, but the mom doesn't really defend herself. Moving on to Roland. Idris Elba was a perfect fit. A man chosen simply because of his talent. And I hate that I have to bring this up, but skin color does not matter. It's not important to the book or the movie. Even if you didn't give him his signature blue eyes, I would still love this casting choice. In fact, it brings a little more weight to it when he finally meets Susanna and she is shocked to see a black man that has never suffered from discrimination. Even his personality is down. Idris is such a good actor, but you had to give him something else to do or say. That's why his relationship with Jake doesn't work. He didn't choose to stay with him. Let me give you an example from the book. Roland always talks about Ka. It's his answer to everything. Why do we have to do it? Because Ka wants us to do it. What if we can't make it? Then that's Ka's choice. But one day, he's hungry and tired, and Eddie decided to instead be the one to answer with Ka. To which Roland responds with Ka and laughs. But everyone just stares at him and is surprised by his kind of childish sense of humor. That's the type of writing I was expecting. Oh, that's right, you read Wizard and Glass, a whole book dedicated to Roland's backstory, and said, oh, the Men in Black shot his dad and now he's mad. Roland's whole point being revenge is awkwardly played out. His motivations are completely different, he doesn't even care whether or not the world lives. In fact, he's got the Men in Black's motivation. I wouldn't mind, it's handled okay, but it's cliche and I can tell where it's going. The biggest mistake is that it doesn't allow space for sequels. I know that sounds like the Disney mind talking right now, but this is a world that feels like it should be explored. Number 3, connections. Let's just say that if you appreciated what Stephen King means, you wouldn't have put the picture of the Overlook from Kubrick's The Shining. This is a short section. I just think you took the lazy Cloverfield paradox route, where consistency does not matter, since your only answer could be, oh, it's a different dimension. I can't imagine Carrie existing here, or Christine. Heck, I can't imagine the new Pennywise in your world, because this film is so bland. And these characters have to walk through the world of The Stand, kill a Pennywise-like creature, and meet Callahan from Salem's Lot, and so much more. But you just don't have the tone for that, or the personality. Showing a car, a name, or a poster in the background is not a way to connect the universe. Look, in It, Eddie's mom used to live next to Paul Sheldon. Paul Sheldon is the protagonist in Misery that was held captive by a crazy woman. That kind of explains why she worries so much, but it's you who has to make that connection. Number 4, craziness. What this film needs is a nice touch of madness, and Stephen King has it all. I wanted to see Roland kill a hypnotized town, like what happens in the first book. If you're a fan, you were probably eager to see the Men in Black pulling out the cards and saying, "Death, but not for you." Matthew McConaughey is a great actor, he could have done it. But you see what I mean when I say that this film could have benefited from going all out. It could have given it a defined personality instead of being forgotten right after watching it. You replace Jake's awesome story arc with a kid who just has visions. They just skip the interesting part because they tried to rush this movie out. I'm glad there isn't gonna be a sequel. You would have probably replaced Susanna with a princess who dreams of being more, with an attitude. Number 5. Fixing mistakes. Overall, The Dark Tower is not a perfect series of books. You should know this if you were one of those people who had to wait to see what happened in Blame the Mono at the end of Wastelands. The biggest sin Stephen King commits is being anticlimactic, especially to the death of his villains. TikTok Man was pretty cool, so I was really glad when Stephen King brought him back, only to kill him a few pages later. The Men in Black is killed away from Roland, his arch nemesis. I get what he tried to do with this. I actually think you could have handled it better if you just gave it a little more time. Mordred follows him for so long only to go down like a pussy. And the most built up character of the franchise in the final battle is killed by a character we've only known for less than 100 pages by drawing him and erasing him from existence. I mean, shit! Imagine having something so great that is not only creative, fun, immersive, but needs obvious corrections that even the fans would thank you for. You can only go up from there. The film already adds sequences that were not originally from the book that managed to fit in pretty well with the universe and the tone. The comedy, for example, is nicely welcomed.
What is this?
Thanks. Hot dog.
Savages.
Can we join the party?
You have both forgotten the faces of your fathers.
Number 6. The Tower itself. MacGuffin. A plot device in the form of some goal, desired object, or other motivator that the protagonist pursues, often with little or no narrative explanation. You took the tower and turned it into a MacGuffin. How shameful. Peter Jackson knew how to handle this better. The tower is not a MacGuffin. It's a symbol, a common goal for most people. It's a goddamn religion. It's the gunslinger's obsession, what has driven people away from him, what he's willing to let people die for, what in the past has gotten people killed. And now that he saved it in the movie, he doesn't even care to find out where it is. Long before this movie, we got a movie called The Mist. In this film, David is painting the gunslinger in front of a door with a tower behind them. This was meant to be Frank Darabont's next film, but Cy King nicely denied him the opportunity. Said that he should give somebody else the chance since he already adapted many of his works. You think they told him the same thing for The Walking Dead? Look at this painting. It is one of the many artistic visualizations of the series. We didn't have movies or any shows, no images of what the tower looked like. All we had were the words of a master. His incredible way of imagery was enough to inspire fan art that deserves their place in museums. All we had was a tall black tower that reached the skies where 12 beams met, each one connected to a spiritual animal, and at the bottom, a field of roses and a path where at the beginning stood a long tortured gunslinger. I never considered getting a tattoo until I saw these beautiful drawings of a symbol by regular people with an image burning in their heads. An image put onto them by stories that meant something. Stories of people who learned they could still love and be loved. People who got out of a hole because they accepted who they were and let others in. People who overcame every obstacle in their way and all the hate because they were determined. Characters that stood for something far greater than themselves. And this is what we got? Number 7, conclusion. I'm contractually obligated to say that if you've admired the point of this journey, stop the video here. But if you truly have to know what happens next, then keep watching. Christ, I must sound like a fucking jackass if you haven't read the books. I'm really hoping that this Hollywood mindset dies soon, but I'm not keeping any hope. There's a show at the works in the moment at the hands of Amazon. Good. I trust those guys with adaptations and world building. I just hate we might not get Idris Elba as Roland again. That's a true shame. And I don't know, do we need an adaptation to be happy? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm not gonna read 7 books again. Thanks for watching. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Long days and pleasant nights.